It's that time. Ooh, 4 of Swords. I have literally never seen this card before in my life. Interesting thing for us to start our week with. Interesting mirror of the 4 of Wands, which we had yesterday. So we've got 4 of Swords. Swords are human intellect. They are human tools. They are words a lot of the time. I think of it as intellect, right? This is the sharpest human tool. The thing that really truly cuts, right, is swords. We have 4 of them here. We have a person who is laid to what I assume is their final rest. It looks like a tomb of sorts, right? We are in a church. We can see 4 swords clearly depicted here. 1 is golden, 3 are silver. The golden is lying with the tomb. So it's an interesting thought that even into death, we can take our words, we can take our sharpest tool, our mind. We also have 3 of those swords pointing downward towards the person who I assume is in the sarcophagus. I think that there are some interesting pieces here, and I am really present to the fact that I've never seen this card before. So we have the kind of religious scene up here in the top left. We also have juxtaposition of really the kind of grayness of the church, the grayness of the 3 swords pointed down, and the goldness of the sarcophagus. I do think there is some sort of like putting these tools to bed, letting the mind settle. Is what I am going to gather from this card just upon first sight here. Like, we've been doing a lot of thinking. We've been doing a lot of conceiving of things each and every day. I think this is very ironically to me coming on a Monday that we are having a day of putting the mind to rest for a day. It's not lost on me that that's happening the day after Sunday, right? I do also want to point out that it is unclear as to whether or not it appears to me as if this sarcophagus is open, right? Which also would suggest that there may or may not be someone in it, right? So maybe it's more the concept of death, more pondering our mortality too, I think would be an interesting thought for us to carry with us today. And not in a dark way, but just to understand that this life is not permanent. For everyone, there is the long sleep at the end of the road. We don't know when it comes, but we know that it is there. That is one of the things that makes the life of it so precious and so sacred, why it is so valuable, because it stands in stark contrast to what comes at the end, right? So that is certainly something for us to be considering today. Our own mortality, and I'll just kind of throw that in there. Rest of the mind, our own mortality. What does that mean for us? How does that inspire us to live right now? Does it provide more color? Are we a little bit more cognizant of what comes after? Are we more present in what is right now? Which is what I would encourage us to be, right? That's my humanist viewpoint, that like, because we die is the very reason we should be living. So company line here is upright is rest, relaxation, meditation, contemplation, recuperation. Reversed is exhaustion, burnout, deep contemplation, and stagnation. So like with most cards, the upright and the reversed here serve as a balance to each other, a full thought, right? As opposed to one side of a coin. So I do think it's interesting for us to ponder the rest and relaxation piece, with the reversed being exhaustion, and then the extra added sprinkle of complexity in there, reversed having stagnation as part of it, right? That we've like come to a halt. We can't move further. We are stuck. Not only are we exhausted, not only are we possibly needing rest or getting rest or relaxing, but we also might need to do that to move through a blockage. We might need to do that to move through some sort of barricade. So that is certainly something for us to think about here as we're pondering this card. I do want to key in a little bit more on the mortality piece, because that is very loudly clear to me. If you have ever had someone, I hope that you haven't, but most of us have, right, had some sort of death touch us in one way or another, right? Someone that we loved, someone that we knew. And part of the learning experience from experiencing that death and experiencing that loss is the appreciation for the presence of others, an appreciation for the presence of ourselves, the presence of life within our midst, right? It is so loud when it stands in contrast to us knowing folks who no longer have that life at their fingertips, who no longer have the presence in this world. And so that is something that I want us to consider today and to contemplate, right? It sounds corny, but rather than standing in the place of like, what would it mean if it was all gone, man? Instead, be pondering on how amazing is it that we have this? Instead of considering like, oh my God, we could not have this, right? Like that is not how I would prefer to be looking at it. Instead, I would be preferring to look at it as how miraculous that this is. Something that we can do, that you and I can wake up on the same day and share thoughts, that we can sit here and have our mind turn over the sharpest tool over and over and over again. We can sharpen each other through sharing of thoughts, through communication, through comments in the section, through shares, through us just dreaming together, right? How amazing that we woke up. How amazing that we are here. We are being called to be with ourselves, to sit, to take a long rest. Not the long rest, right? Again, so much of this is about appreciating the life that we do have at our fingertips. But life can get in the way of true contemplation sometimes. We can have all kinds of distractions, all things that jump in. Sometimes we do need to retreat to the chamber. So I want us to consider, like, it's possible that we need that today too. That maybe we need to start this week in a place of relaxation, in a place of ponderance of the great wonder that is our life. No matter what life you're living, there are things to appreciate. There are things to latch onto, things to hold up and exalt and celebrate. Today, it might be most fruitful to do that in a place of stillness, in a place of relaxation, in a place of solitude. Sometimes we need that. Sometimes we need to face the three swords. Sometimes we need to stare at the sharpest tool to fully be present where we are, to understand what impact these three things pointing at us could have so that we can appreciate the one that we have by our side. I think that is very loudly here for me. This card is one of stillness. This card is one of beauty. This card is certainly one of ponderance and retreat and relaxation. Maybe not the true, I'm going to go kick my feet up in a hammock kind of relaxation, but the stillness that I think we all require every so often. If not, how can we aspire today to find some stillness, to find some quiet, to find some space for us to be with ourselves, to think about life, to think about what it all means, to appreciate what we have, and to understand that what we have is worth appreciating because at some point we will not have it. It's temporary, but it's also here. If you're hearing this, it's here. Your life is upon you. I appreciate you guys starting your week with me. Maybe this is a week of swords. Who knows? Last week was wands. The 2 weeks before that were cups, right? Maybe this is a week of swords. Who knows? Please come and join me every single day for our poll. As always, I'm looking forward to doing more of this with you. Take care of yourselves and take care of others out there. Terror Dad is out.